to you by America Motorworks Off-Road and Performance, your one stop for all your off-road diesel and performance needs. Whether it's fast or slow, lifted or low, new or old, we've got you covered. Come see us at our shop in Montrose, Colorado, or visit our website and online store at www.americamotorworks.com. New parts added daily. Check us out.
Welcome back to another exciting episode with old girl. This thing, now that it runs, doesn't really drive yet, but I got her up and replaced some of the suspension on it, or some of the steering, just because it was scary and, like I showed you, held up by a coat hanger. So what we're gonna do today is gonna check out the brakes. So I'm gonna get all the tires off of it and see what we got. There's a bunch of spiders hanging out under here, so not too excited about it, but that's just part of the territory. I've had enough black widows fall on my face, thank you very much, but it's worth it. What I did see the other day is this interesting bumper. This square tube is in this sleeve. It slides back here and it's got these little locks, but someone has this linkage set up with a padlock on it, and you're supposed to be able to pull this thing and it pivots and pulls pins, so you can slide this entire bumper back. I think it's for when this thing was pulling a camper, but it's kind of unique either way. But gonna go ahead and need to take care of the exhaust on this, but going to go ahead and get the tires off, and we'll go from there. All right, got the wheels off and doesn't look too bad. There was a black widow chilling in this one, so went ahead and had a conversation with it. But yeah, everything's off. Might have lied a little bit to you guys. Bought a 4-inch rough country lift kit for this fella, and my buddy Ty gave me these tires. Now I think, yeah, so got these wheels and tires from my buddy Ty. They're not current, but they're gonna look great on this truck, almost period correct. And then these old BFGs, which are better than these, because these tires are from 2006. And it sucks because they have a lot of tread on them, but they're from 06. So we're gonna go ahead and get this guy looking a little bit better. You know, she's an old girl. It's gonna be a fun, you know, just kind of screw around truck. So didn't want to put too much into her, but we're gonna go, oh look, free wasp nest, yay. Gonna go ahead and do all the maintenance, transfer case, lube, diffs, all that stuff. So it wants me to jack the front up, which is already done obviously, and remove the cotter pin and take the drag link off the pitman arm. So we're gonna go ahead and get started. I'll keep y'all posted. Pretty much got the first portion done. What you have to do is pull the shock out, and then you loosen the leaf spring, and they want you to do all this on the ground. They want you to do it with jack stands, which screw that. I own a shop and have multiple lifts, so I'm not doing that. But these little screw stands from Harbor Freight come in handy. I like these things. I know they're cheapos, but they work great. So went in and pulled the shock. I'm supporting this side of the axle with the strap and that. So what they want you to do, sorry guys, it's early. Because this is a 250, it has what's called a twin traction beam setup, or a twin I-beam, where there's no solid axle. Basically, there's two halves that pivot. Here's a pivot, and then back here's a pivot. Now, what we have to do in order to lift it and get proper geometry is we have to add a drop bracket to this one and to this one, which will essentially drop the whole axle down. But there are two halves. Now, this side's already broke loose, but you have to more or less drop it in unison. So to get the passenger side dropped, you have to, it's kind of a pain in the butt to get at, but there's two bolts right here that hold the bracket, and then there's two up in there. Now, unfortunately, they're not captured. So when you take the nut off, they will try to spin. So what I ended up having to do was I fished a box end wrench down through the front here, and I was able to get on the top of the bolt while I unscrewed the nut. So it's kind of a pain in the butt, and obviously you can see this motor's pretty disgusting down here, so you will get covered with crap. It's not a matter of if, it's just a matter to what degree you will get covered with crap. So I'm gonna go ahead and keep going on it so you can see the brackets loose right here. But because these axles are connected with a shaft, you can't pull the passenger side down more, or you can't really drop the passenger side out with the driver still being on. So now I have to contend with the driver's side. Before I did this, a couple days before, sprayed all the bolts with PB Blaster, which helps. So we're gonna go ahead, and first thing I'm gonna do is pop the shock, and then I'm gonna wrap the ratchet strap around here just to help hold it, because we have to get the leaf spring out and everything. So hopefully this one's a little bit easier, because that back one was kind of a pain in the ass, to be all honest with you. But while I'm under here, I'm gonna get at this with a putty knife, because you can see how much crap and grease and stuff is just all over this. I mean, this is nasty. So I don't like that. I mean, this thing's obviously not a show truck, but any little bit of garbage or crap I can remove off of this thing while I'm working on it will be beneficial. So yeah, my next step is pull this shock, and then I'm going to loosen these U-bolts, which is gonna allow this this side of the axle to articulate down. And then I'm going to obviously support it first. So I'm gonna let it swing down to the maximum amount after I pull the shock that this will let you. Then I'm gonna loosen those, and then this thing's gonna go swing down. This side will be supported, so hopefully I can get this out. Now, as you can see, there is a bushing right here. These are called axle pivot bushings, and they are available at the auto parts store. Now, this one's almost 40 years old, so I'm gonna go ahead and replace it. It's gonna kind of be a pain in the ass to get it pressed out without taking this whole axle over to my 20-ton press that I have in the other bay. But I'm gonna use a ball joint press, because I've done that before and it works. But I figure, hey, I'm in here, I'm working on it, I may as well do it, because I think they're like $22 a piece or something, and literally the weight of the truck pivots on these two bushings, so it'd be stupid not to do it. So I'm going to continue, and I'll keep you guys updated. Depending on your engine configuration, this is obviously the little 6.9 diesel, which, you know, I'm really stoked about to, you know, be able to enjoy and drive around and everything. But when they put the suspension on this truck, pretty sure they did it at the factory before they put the engine in, because the bolt had to come out this way, so it was hitting the exhaust. So I went ahead and just pulled it out halfway, ground the head off of it, and pulled it out. So I'm gonna have to go ahead and get a replacement bolt, which will now go that way. But this side's the same thing, but there's a lot more clearance between it and the drive shaft. So anyway, let's progress, and I will check back in. All right, figured I'd give you a little update. I went ahead and got these pivot bushings replaced. They were kind of how I thought, a little bit of a pain in the ass. Now the one on the front, on the driver's side axle, comes out forward, so I put the ball joint press behind it and applied pressure, and it popped this out partially into the cup. Well, the rubber came out, so I ended up drilling a bunch of holes around, then using my air hammer to push this out. And then you just take the chisel bit from the air hammer and just basically hit it on all sides, and then blow it out the back. And then what I do on these is I'll put them in the freezer, because it'll help shrink it. But when these things come out, they come out in pieces. Like, here's the rubber part, but you could see it had got oil on it, so it flared it up and made it all terrible. So that's one piece of it. And then here's the rear one. That's how it came out, but you can see how crappy the rubber is. So the pin shoots out, and then it leaves this, and then you can use like a flat bit on your air hammer to push it out. And then this collar, the actual the sleeve of it pops out too. So what I did on the front here is I pressed it in, and it really didn't want it. It was kind of fighting me, so I took the air hammer, and once it was almost all the way in, and just went around the border and pushed it in. But here on the back side, this one's kind of a pain in the butt, because you can't get to the front really to compress it in. So I ended up having to make a tool. I took the ball joint press and put the back of it here, and put a cup and a sleeve here. And so what happens is as it presses here, because it's a giant C-clamp, it looks like this. As you tighten here, it pulls the top down. So that's how I was able to do it on the back. So I went ahead and cut a piece of metal. My tool was a little square of steel. So basically, I took this thing. You can see the outline of the bushing on it. So I set it here on the backside, and as I tightened this, it pulled down and pushed the bushing right into place. So it was super easy. And the fact that you put it in the freezer helps the metal shrink a little bit and go in. So I pulled it out of the freezer, lubed it a little bit, and put this here, and just boom, right into place. So just this little piece of steel that I cut ended up working out great. So got that done. I mean, I didn't have to do it, but I mean, I'm here. What am I gonna do, you know, in like 6 months? Just be like, oh, hey, you know, I want to replace the pivot bushings and have to go through all this crap again. No, I'm here. We're gonna do it. We're also gonna do these, there's bushings in here, and you can see how much they shake. I mean, they need to move, because when the leaf spring is bolted to the axle, as this axle is basically, when you jack the truck up, the leaf spring needs to tilt. And then when it's compressing it, basically the leaf spring needs to move like this on this axis. But so these are allowed to move, but the rubber in there is just total crap. You can kind of see, if I look up there, you can see it's like totally destroyed. So same thing, I'm gonna pop these shackles out and do the same damn thing. I mean, I'm here, and see, these are the old leaf spring bushings. But it's one of those things. I mean, the two pivot bushings were like 20 bucks a piece, and the I think the leaf spring bushing, or the shackle bushings, are like 13 bucks a piece. Energy Suspension makes some nice polyurethane for these, but I didn't think ahead and order them. So I'm just gonna put the rubber ones in, but they'll do just fine. I mean, this truck's 38 years old this year, so it's a good idea to do it. So that's where I am. I'm gonna go ahead and finish pulling these brackets out, and I'll check in with you. All right, so we moved over to the back because I was waiting for some bushings for the front, and my buddy Ty came to help, and we got the blocks for the back end. Now, these are too long, so I went ahead and threaded the bolts on first and then cut them, because the socket was basically hitting this before it was tightening that fully. So basically you just put the blocks in, and the shocks, you have to be real cognizant of the fact this brake line is going to be stupid tight right now that since it's hanging with no weight on it. And then we got to do the front leaves, which still sucks, but we got plenty here. But went ahead and put the pitman arm on, just broke this loose, and then I tightened it to 200 because the spec is 170 to 230. So this is where we are. Got these brackets on right here. This little guy in the middle holds it together to support it. So I got both of these in, and yeah, moving right along. It's looking really good. So we're pretty much done in the back. So we're gonna go ahead and put the front leaves on. So just start breaking these loose, and we'll go from there. Well, all right, give you a little update. This side fought us a little bit putting it in. We had to get it and then cut the ends of the U-bolts off, but because it's twin traction beam and the leaf springs actually arch, this side was fighting us. We couldn't get the lower pin in, so we used one ratchet strap to suck the hub to the leaf spring, another ratchet strap to suck that leaf spring to this one, and then one on either side of the pumpkin to suck the spacer, or to suck this bottom plate pin up, but it actually worked. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and snug everything back up, and we will continue. But yeah, if this was solid axle without TTB, it'd be a lot easier, but TTB presents its challenges, which is why a lot of people get away from it. But I will check back in. Here's where we are at today. So got the front end done, got everything back together. It's gonna need an alignment, but it's looking good. And I really like the fact that these two brackets bolt together in the middle just for extra rigidity. Had about 4 black widows crawl out while I was working on this. One tried crawling down my sleeve, and that was not the most buenoest. I think these wheels look really good. I'm probably gonna need bigger tires. The only real big thing we ran into is this this stud. That stud right there snapped off when my buddy tried to give it a couple extra ugga-duggas, so I ended up having to drill it out and put a normal bolt. But other than that, I mean, got the block in back here. I did have to, let me get the light, sorry guys. There's the pile of 38-year-old suspension parts. And I'll show you. This truck has a weird bumper on it. I think it was for when they had a camper. You can see, like, it's actually meant to slide if you loosen those and that kind of stuff. But anyway, I replaced all the brake lines, but I had to take this one out of this little hole here, and it's free floating right now. You can see this line's tight. This line was even tighter. At some point I'm probably gonna have some extended brake lines made, but for now it can float. I'm gonna secure it so it won't hit anything. But other than that, everything went together. Next, you can see we took the exhaust off, so I'm gonna have to secure that at some point. But she's pretty much together. After I bleed the brakes, I'm gonna put the wheels and tires on, and I'll show you guys what the finished result looks like. I'm really happy with how this came out, so I will keep y'all updated. All right, guys, as you can see, we got the lift done, and she looks pretty damn good. We even took it to get an alignment, and to my surprise, she actually held alignment. So thanks for the support. We'll see you on the next one. Later. Hey guys, hope you enjoyed the video. If you're interested in any of the parts that you saw in the video, check out our website, www.americamotorworks.com. Also check the link and the description of this video, because if I say install the cold air intake or an exhaust, I will put that link in there. Appreciate the support. If you want to see more of our stuff, make sure you click the subscribe button right here. Have a good one.